Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis won a very big battle, actually, against the College Board this week. He originally pushed back on the pilot curriculum for a new AP course in African American Studies, objecting to certain components of it, like critical race theory and queer theory that had been brought into this curriculum that was being piloted by the College Board. The coursework had been kept secret. The only reason the public really knows what's in it is because of leaks to media. But DeSantis pushed back on it, and the Associated Press, the College Board said, "Okay, we're going to rework it. We're going to revamp it because DeSantis and Florida Republicans were not going to allow it to be used in Florida schools." This does not have to turn into a debate over the Stop Woke Act that DeSantis implemented. I think it was just last year. I have my own problems with that law, even if I sort of agree with the thrust of his point. But he got the College Board to change the coursework. And I mean, as much as people hate Ron DeSantis, I actually think this will be for the better of the curriculum.
What do we know? What do we know about what the curriculum? I saw him griping about queer theory and intersectionality, and what do we know about what was in the curriculum from the leaks? Yeah, so the leaks particularly pointed to critical race theory. They pointed to queer theory, intersectionality, and a lot of the writers and thinkers that had been sort of used as scholars and used their scholarship in the curriculum were, to put it mildly, very radical, I would say fringe left thinkers. And again, this is where, and this is my colleague wrote in The Federalist, that there's a 14th Amendment question here when you're getting into questions that, like, there's a quote pulled out in one of the leaks about one of the scholars cited in the coursework had been talking about how white people are X, Y, and Z. And it was basically just because they were white, and not because of any sort of learned or conditioned traits that people pick up, but because they're white, they're X, Y, and Z. And that is not healthy. And I think there is a real 14th Amendment violation in that case. So my colleague Joy Pullman wrote about that, and I thought it was an excellent point. Equal protection?
Yeah, and that's, by the way, why I think you don't need things like the Stop Woke Act, because we already have civil rights protections on the books. I know these lawsuits take a really long time to go through, and you're banking on winning them, obviously, but we do already have protections for racial equality.
And so, is he claiming that? So here, I'm wondering if he's. Let me try to find this one piece in there.
DeSantis zeroed in specifically on abolishing prisons, queer theory, and intersectionality, and he said basically this is a political inclusion. This is something that is more about one political team than the other.
I saw in one of the articles that was about this, he was saying that they've won a victory kind of over identity politics. Mm-hmm. But so that's why I wonder if this is actually about him wanting to, like, edit out some of the excesses that might have kind of slipped in from some fringe thinkers, but is fundamentally, comfortable with an AP African American history course, or whether he just rejects the entire idea. Because if you say that you're winning a victory over identity politics, yeah, in what way can you be completely against identity politics, but then also supportive of African American history classes? Like, that African American history classes are, in essence, by definition, mm-hmm, connected to identity, yeah, the identity of African American history in America.
I am guilty of using that term imprecisely myself because it's become such a political football, identity politics, but I think you're making a really good point, which is that fundamentally, I don't really have an issue with identity politics, the literal definition of identity politics, because people are different, thus their political interests are going to differ based on those different interests. So of course, there's some element of identity politics, and the right plays into them too, with the white working class. That's identity politics. And I think personally, there is legitimacy to talking about the white working class differently than other mm-hmm, demographics, just like we talk about suburban women differently than other demographics. So yeah, I mean, identity politics in its essence, to your point, Ron DeSantis, I guess, isn't rejecting the AP African American Studies class. He's still going to allow, obviously, the College Board to administer the class in the state of Florida, and has said repeatedly, we are proud to teach African American history. This is a line that I think Manny Diaz and Florida officials have been using in their back and forth with the College Board. We are proud to teach African American history in the state of Florida. This is just too far. Which, whether or not you think Ron DeSantis is sincere in that, it's at least politically clever.
And right, not only are identities kind of real and salient, but sometimes people have multiple overlapping elements of their identities that actually intersect. Like white and working class would be an intersecting identity, and both of those pieces of your identity inform who you are, how you go about the world. So to see him coming at, to call it, if maybe his advisors have some sophisticated critique in the background, but the way that he's presenting it publicly seems just like a blunt rejection of the entire notion.
Yeah, but I think it's a blunt rejection of the entire notion that's broadly popular because people are sick of being excessively divided along identity lines and being divided along identity lines when it's not salient, to your point. And that happens over and over again. And intersectionality was taken from a legal theory by Kimberly Crenshaw into a hierarchy. And whether or not you think certain folks have abused it, Crenshaw accuses the right of abusing it, but it has been extrapolated in cases with certain thinkers to becoming hierarchical. And I think that's been a high-profile mistake, and one that allows Ron DeSantis to come in and talk about identity politics being a bad thing because the excesses do resonate with people.
Yeah, and we talked earlier about how Maurice Mitchell, who's the national director of the Working Families Party, wrote this 6,000-word essay about the way that the left had vulgarized identity politics and was abusing it for kind of their people's own kind of internal motivations inside organizations and divorcing it from its structure. Quoted somebody saying that you've taken the politics out of identity. Identity politics no longer has the politics connected to it. Now it's just identity. And so there's an irony in that all sides have dumbed it down and then battered each other with it. And then you try to say, okay, well, then let's do a course on this. Let's actually study it in a profound way. And then the dumbed down parts of it get pulled out and say, well, we can't do that because this is so dumb. It's like, well, how are we going to get smarter if we don't study this? So we'll keep watching this and see what the AP comes back with. I'm skeptical that it's going to be a good faith back and forth, but this is all we've got.
I think the red line in the sand should actually be whenever you're studying racial history, whatever it is, the red line in the sand, if you're Republican or Democrat, whatever you think, should be treating people differently based on the color of their skin solely and saying these are innate characteristics that come because of the color of your skin. And so to the extent that that's Ron DeSantis' red line, you can take it in good faith or not, it doesn't matter. But to the extent that this move at least drew that red line for the College Board and the course is going to go on, I have a hard time being upset about this. I think that's great because I imagine that that's painful for children and causes a lot of confusion for children and a lot of strife in classrooms, as we've seen actually over the last couple of years.
And it's not just white students. A lot of studies have shown that black students, when you present this kind of this idea that you are defined by race completely and fully from beginning to end, that can create harm as well.
But yeah, we'll keep following this story and others like it, so stay tuned for that.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Sagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.